With the revised. You think so? I know. I don't know. Oh. Can I get a roll call, please?
Adam Kavanaugh.
Here.
Zachary Gomez.
Here.
Alexander DiFabrio. Mike Arell.
Here.
Ryan Carroll.
Here.
Alex Schoenfeld.
Here.
Matthew Tilley.
Here.
Jay Regan.
Here.
Joshua Montero. Isabel Boulier.
Here.
Luis Ugarte.
Here.
Ashley Harzaz.
Here.
Riley Leader. Fiona Dolan. Michaela Apt. Joseph Pastuli. Alexander Robbins. Irwa Ashima. Mackenzie Morganwit.
Here.
Stephen Nealon.
Before we get started, want to address the obvious elephant in the room. You can take your mask off. I know I said this to everyone here, but for everyone that just walked in, you're allowed to have your mask off if you'd like, since it's a rented out space and not, I guess, technically part of the first floor. You are allowed to have your mask optional if you'd like. Feel free to keep it on. But for everyone else in the room, committee meetings still have to have, you still have to wear a mask because there can be in classrooms. Danny? I'm sorry?
My name wasn't.
Oh. Well, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to redo roll call.
Motion to redo roll call.
Second.
All those in favor of redoing roll call? All opposed? Abstentions? Roll call, please. Thank you.
Adam Kavanaugh.
Here.
Zachary Domian.
Here.
Zachary, Alexander DiFabrio. Mike Arell. Here. Ryan Carroll. Here. Ali Schoenfeld. Matthew Tilley.
Here.
Jay Regan. Here. Joshua Angera. Isabel Boulier.
Here.
Luis Ugarte. Here. Ashley Harzaz.
Here.
Riley Veeder.
Here.
Danny Hazelton.
Here.
Fiona Dolan.
Here.
Michaela Apt. Joseph Pastuli.
Here.
Alexander Robbins.
Here.
Hiroshima.
Here.
Mackenzie Morganwit.
Here.
Stephen Nealon.
Awesome. All right, reading and approval of last meeting's minutes. Do I have any motions?
Last week's. Second.
All those in favor of approving last meeting's minutes? All opposed? Abstentions? Last meeting's minutes are not approved.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 6th.
Motion to defer the meeting minutes from December 6th.
Second.
Going to veto that, I will accept that motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? We will defer last meeting's minutes to next week to be voted on. All right, open floor for guests.
Motion to forego. Second.
All those in favor of foregoing open floor for guests? All those opposed? Abstentions? All right. We're now moving into open discussion. Are there any topics of discussion for open discussion?
Motion to forego open discussion.
All those in favor of foregoing open discussion? All those opposed? Abstentions? Open discussion is now foregone. All right, moving into open floor for the student body. We'll start with IRHA. Hi, Jared.
Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
Happy Monday, Senate. Unfortunately, due to lack of participants signed, roommate games was canceled. Large American Network Bingo took place Saturday, March 5th in Upper Commons. Huge success. We had 30 people playing, and I believe some of those people were here. And showed up. And also watch out for the scooter. It was one distributed, so just make sure you're not running over. Also, Large American Network will not be forming a committee this semester, but we're still looking for assistance and more opportunity to be available after the break. So I'll keep you updated on that as things are out. But Large American Network Showcase is going to be taking place Saturday, April 5th or April 2nd in the Rec Center Fieldhouse from 7 to midnight. I'm also going to be attending the Spring Leadership Conference this weekend at Hofstra University with Joe Brown and Cole Palmer. Good luck on your midterm this week, your break, and much love.
Any questions for IRHA?
Go Jared.
Hey, Jared.
All right, moving on to MSU.
What's going on? Today's not gonna be too much about sneakers, but I'll read my report first. Thank you. So tomorrow we have our close flow event with Woke for their Move It with Marcy event, 4 to 6 in the Rice Dance Studio. We'll have an hour Zumba class, smoothie table, and free menstrual products available for everybody. With that, on Wednesday we have our close flow with college ends for our lecture series. I was expecting that. And CAS 157 from 7:30 to 9:30. There will also be a Zoom option available. And I believe there was an all student email sent out today. I'm not sure if it was all student or all like campus. All campus. I don't know. There was something about all.
We'll go through the policy.
I forgot. And then other than that, yeah, and other than that, we're finalizing details for our Stay Woke Week events. So definitely look forward to the week after spring break, and I will let you guys know if it's in. Then more than anything, I showed these off the other day, so I won't be talking about the sneakers. I will be talking about the jacket, however. So,
Yeah.
everybody's been raving about the jacket. This is a Sable Industries thing, started by 2 YouTubers I follow, Tony B2 Wild and Bullet Trick. So it's pretty cool to see. Honestly, it's just really high quality. I'm really proud of it, and my favorite thing is the back design. So like, yeah, it's pretty clean. Recommend checking out the brand, high key, really, really good, and it's really cool. Yeah.
Any questions for MSU?
Go Josiah's.
All right, moving on to CEN.
So we had a very successful paint night last Friday. We were really enjoyed to see everyone's lighthouse paintings. They were so cute. So thank you to everyone that attended.
And then we spent this weekend taking launch reports for March Meltdown. We are super excited to share them with the campus. So we will be putting those up the week after spring break, so keep an eye out for those.
And along with that, get excited for March Meltdown. The theme is Fire and Ice. So hot, it's cool. So our events begin on March 22nd, and more information coming soon.
And then lastly, applications for the 2022-2023 CEN board open on March 14th, and they close on April 3rd. Yeah. And so please encourage anyone that is looking to get involved to apply. They can reach out to either us, the CEN, social media accounts, or CENRW@gmail.com. So please encourage people to apply. So that's all.
Any questions for CEN? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to ICC.
Hi, everyone. We're all doing well. This past weekend, our first years had an air hockey event in Tuxedo, and the juniors had their project getaway. Both went really well. We didn't get any came out to support. This week, we had fundraisers. Our sophomore class will be selling Go Boys, and our senior class is currently selling apparel, if you've seen with the anchor on it, and it has the 309. We sign up $20 for them. Not too bad. What else? Also, the seniors we currently have our Commons Tab House tickets on sale. So if you are currently a senior, Roger, please make sure you purchase that. It's a long-standing senior event. It's March 25th. The tickets are $22. It pays for a full state dinner with the menus on our social media page, and you also have alcohol. Well, like beer and wine. So if you're 21 and you're when it comes to that, or senior in general. Come to that. What else is there? This Thursday we have our St. Robin's event in Greenwich Beach. And this past week, we also had our chair elections for the 2022-2023 academic year. So next year, you'll be seeing Sam Gregory. And then our econ elections, our executive board elections for next year are tomorrow. So, thank you.
Good luck. Any questions for ICC? Okay, moving on to Hawks Herald.
So we don't have an issue coming out this week, so the next time we close is March 24th. Applications for e-board will go out after spring break. And other than that, we hope everyone has a wonderful break.
Any questions for Hawks Herald? All right, moving on to Saga. Do we have a report from Saga?
We do. Happy Monday, Senate. Saga's pronoun beanie fundraiser is live on university tickets. Beanies are $10 and can be picked up from the table time tomorrow from 11 to 2 in Commons or from Carol's office whenever. Proceeds are going to the Thunder Mist Health Center. Tomorrow, in addition to table time, we're having the Queers, Beers, and Career Networking event at 8 in the GHH Atrium. We have also solidified our plans with MSU to do a Jeopardy game for our Stay Woke Week COSPO. More on that to come. Thank you and enjoy your spring break.
Any questions, you can email them to Sophie. Last but not least, WQRI.
Hi, everybody. We're still working on our Off the Block event. We're getting some student groups or a student group to do our opener, which is really exciting. And we're reaching out to all of the different organizations on campus. I don't know if we sent out an email or not, but if you haven't got one, look for one. About getting a table at our Off the Block event if you're interested. Updated the masking policy in the booths, and now it's mask optional, which is exciting.
And finally, we are investing in some cool new merch, so stay tuned for that.
Any questions from me, Laura? All right, now we'll move into our advisor report. Adrian, hi.
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 So hi everyone, as we look towards spring break, please make sure that in your offices, that if there is any food, that it is definitely completely sealed, secure, because you don't want any friends in there. While y'all are occupying the space for a week. I will be out after like 2:30 on Wednesday. I'll be joining the Hawks Herald on the CMA conference. So I'll be out, I'll still be checking email and stuff, so that's fine, but I will not be around. Oh. What else? What other nugget information I can share? Just as a reminder to please make sure that you continue to test and be in testing compliance, as well as your peers, especially if you are planning on doing any travel. If you're not in testing compliance, be able to go. And like getting tested the week of the trip does not count as testing compliance. It is the series of continued testing. So yeah, that's been a fun time. I think it's really it. from the
Slick?
major stuff. Slick, we have a committee.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You said the name, never mind. Sorry, Alex. Any other questions for Adrian? Or do you have any questions for
I can do
Adrian?
one more thing.
Okay, sorry,
Our
Deb.
few achievement awards, nominations,
That's fine.
please, you can self-nominate, you can nominate your peers, especially for those class awards. Tell us what amazing things that your peers been doing for your class. Or the fact that they're just
Any questions for Adrian? Jared?
If you miss one test out of.
Oh, one test, don't worry about that, but it's gotta show like you are continually testing.
Any other questions for Adrian? All right, moving into the president's report, and I have an exciting update. So I'm really happy to share this. Okay, so after a meeting today that, I'm sorry if I'm stealing anyone's report's thunder, but this is something really exciting that I wanted to share. After meeting, having Mark Porter come to parking today, he shared with the committee that based on a committee meeting that he attended last semester with Student Life, that they are now implementing implicit bias training. They wanted to get more CPR certifications for all public safety officers and mental health training for all public safety officers. So that's really awesome and a really awesome thing was accomplished. So looking forward to that and seeing how it will affect public safety officers moving forward. As far as guest speakers go, I will be providing an update to you all as soon as I can regarding guest speakers, especially the president. We are looking to get an update as to when he'll be attending Student Senate. So I will be solidifying those dates, but please be aware that there will be one meeting where I'm trying to figure out the date, but we will most likely be having 2 guest speakers in one night. So we're having some long meetings coming up, but all good things. And I think that's it for me. Have a happy spring break next week. Stay safe this week. Yeah, anyone have any questions for me? All right, moving forward to our vice president's report.
Happy Monday, everyone. If you have not signed up for one-on-ones, please do so. They are mandatory. They're just half an hour of your time. Really just a time to check in with all of you to see if there's any questions, comments, concerns that you have, and see how we can make your experience on Senate better. We do have a date announced for the dinner with President Mialis at the residence. It's going to be April 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. There are going to be formal invitations in your mailboxes tomorrow morning, so please get those. It's important, though, that you do not RSVP. On the formal invitation. It says RSVP via email. Adrian will be handling all of Senate's RSVPs and numbers. So please, under no circumstances, email anyone to RSVP. But we have a Google form for that. And on that note, due on March 11th, there'll be a quick biographical Google form that will go out tonight that just gets general information, major, so on, age. And we look forward to having dinner with the president, and that will push our general Senate meeting back as the start time to 7:15 or 7:30, somewhere in that range, once you know the specifics. The transition binder deadline has been pushed back to allow people in newer roles additional time to be in those roles, additional time to know what's going on and to make that. So please go and look out for more information there. Accepted student stays that went out, please, if you have not signed up or submitted an absence request, do so as soon as possible. We're excited to have Senate participation again. Two other updates. One, academic allocations is officially going to be forming. Again, for those of us that might be new, academic allocations is a committee that meets only when there's a request for a student conference or presentation that Senate would allocate money for. And so we're going to be looking for 2 members of the Academic Affairs Committee and 2 members of the Finance Committee to serve. Be on the lookout for a Google form about that, as well as our treasurer, Zach. And then the final thing, starting next week, in an effort to be more inclusive of all, e-board has pronoun plaques that senators can grab. It will be optional, but if you choose to have your pronouns out near your nameplate, feel free to do so. And then this afternoon, we're going to be having a general senator caucus. So it's going to feel like a little like cabinet, but it's going to be just with the general senators to provide an update and to hear any questions or concerns that you have about that. So please, general senators, stay after, and that includes any ad hoc chairs.
Any questions for Adam? All right, moving on with our treasurer's report.
Happy Monday, nothing from me this week.
Cool. Zach? Go ahead.
How's the budget looking?
Awesome. Anyone else? All right, moving on to our secretary's report.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As we have 6 weeks left of the semester, mandatory assignments and events will be here before you know it. Please take advantage, if you have not done so already, of the Google Calendar and list of all mandatory assignments and events. These resource outlines the deadlines and events for all General Senate specifics. Friendly reminder, the absence request form that can be found on HawkLink will be your best friend to avoid receiving demerits. As stated in the weekly update, we have a new change upon us for how we as a collective group will be doing business when it comes to new office hour policies. Please consult the last week's weekly update for instructions of what is in your mailboxes and links to the Google Forms. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out after the meeting. The end goal for the office hour policy revision is truly in place to aid e-board with using the response metrics to re-encompass what office hours will look like for Senate 49 and for the future. The Senate history fun fact of the week is something that I find to be rather appropriate for tonight's meeting, given the new revised office hour policy that has gone into effect this week. In SS47, dating back to the General Senate student meeting on February 12, 2000, Senate member Mike Halpin made a motion for a student senate to incorporate a sign-in sheet for the sole purpose of tracking office hours. The motion passed with a shocking 14 ayes and 3 nays. Shortly thereafter, the sign-in tracking sheet was established.
This is history. The rest is history. Does anyone have any questions? You know, part of me is like maybe a secretary like 20 years from now, we'll look back and go, you know, on whatever date it is today, Zachary LaFontaine had a Google form established.
And Google Forms are gonna
And
be
the rest is
history.
history. That's what I picture, but you know, hopefully they let us know.
Hopefully
any
they
other
let us
questions
know.
for Zach? All right, moving on to our parliamentary report.
Hello, everyone. So I've got a few updates tonight. For starters, please start emailing the executive email if you would like to appeal demerits and CC my personal email. This is in an effort to centralize all of the emails to one location. Reminder to please send any legislation to the, when sending any legislation to the executive email, please send that in a Word document and then in the correct template, which you can find in the legislation folder. labeled legislation template, because that will allow me to correctly enumerate the legislation. Speaking of legislation, please reach out to me if you're working on any initiative or any legislation. I would sincerely love to help you all on any of that. We only have 5 more Senate meetings left after tonight. So if you're working on an initiative or thinking of beginning working on one, now is the time to begin that work. I am looking forward to the debate on the bills that are on the floor tonight, especially for the bylaw review committee bills and the elections committee formation and appointment bills.
Not my bills. Not my bills. Thank you.
Lastly, Zach L and I are sending out a Google form sometime this week in an effort to begin an initiative within Senate to phonetically spell each senator's name. I know that might sound a little bit like, what does that mean? All that you all would have to do is send in a recording of the correct pronunciation of your name via a Google form. I know we love Google Forms. And then Zach and I will do the rest. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to either myself or Zach. Your Parley Pro fun fact for today is that the responsibilities of a chairperson in our bylaws, according to Article 5, Section 1, include tracking attendance. So please track attendance in HopLink at all committee and council meetings, as it is an expectation that you do that. If you need a refresher on how to do that, please reach out to an e-board member. But that's all from me. Thank you. And if I don't see you, have a good spring break.
Any questions for Ally?
Go Ally. Go Ally.
Harley Pro.
Saying that.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the rest of our Senate reports, and we'll start with our standing committees. Start with Brian.
Hello, everyone. So we only have 4 clubs coming this week. Firstly, the Color Club came in with a $350 request for a guest speaker and smoothie ingredients, which they were allocated $275. Also came in for a $200 request to be reimbursed for a guest speaker. They're allocated the full amount. Next, Forensic Science Club came in with a $32.23 request to perform a crime scene pickle autopsy. They were allocated the full amount. Next, College Republicans came in for an $85.45 request for a fundraiser, allocated $80. Sedon came in for a $40 request for Belco straps, and they were allocated the full amount. And, never mind, one more, 5. Finally, the Society of Women Engineers came in for a $292 request and 50 cents for engineering paper, which they were allocated $262.76. And finally, the Finance Committee will be finishing up the student activities fee this week, right on schedule.
Any questions for Mike?
Mike.
All right, moving on to clubs and orgs.
Good evening, Senate. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Last week, my committee reviewed and approved the constitution changes of public health and the cheerleading's constitution changes. We had 1 trial club come in. That would be golf club. There is now a golf club in trial club status. Hopefully they will become golf clubs. I know lots of senators here love golf. Last week we have begun work on the handbook with committee members reviewing the handbook and making any suggested changes that we need, any grammar, any spelling, anything taken out possibly. And I plan for them to start making suggestions on what should be added this week. Hopefully.
Any questions for Brian?
Yeah, Brian. Go Brian. Sorry.
Moving on to
Thanks.
Good evening, Senate. Last week we debriefed from our meeting with dining, and it looks like the dining staff will be working together to discuss the university dining committee. This week we'll be meeting with Director of Environmental Health and Safety, Kathy Souza, and in my report it says possibly interim Director of Public Safety, Mark Porter, who will not be there tomorrow. But I did see him today and did let him know of what we'll be talking about tomorrow, which is more safety initiatives. I know that typically student life is a safety walk, or in years past, it had been both semesters. But because especially with the master plan, a lot of things kind of being reconstructed, what we usually normally find on safety walks in regards to accessibility, things of that nature. It just makes sense to kind of leave our safety walk where it is fall and move into other safety aspects, because there are more than one way to, or more than a few ways to tackle safety initiatives on campus. I know that at a seminar last semester, safety training such as, and not limited to, active shooter situations, fire drills, things of that nature were talked about. kind of struggled to find a uniform place to partake in those trainings because not all of us are in the same location at once. So talking with Kathy Sula just to see, would it be feasible to make some sort of videos, some sort of series of imagery that can be posted on the website or provided for students in some capacity to be able to know what to do should those situations arise. So that'll be fun. And then I know with parking, there's a possibility of doing a little coastal there. So let's work with the one and only Jay. So there's that. And yeah, that's it.
Go Ally.
Any questions? for Ally? Moving on to AA.
Hi, Senate. Last week, we began reviewing our scholarship review process and outlining what the selection process looks like as a committee. We're also doing the same for professor this semester as the year goes along, which is in the queue right after the scholarship selection process. This upcoming week, we'll be reviewing brainstorming goals that we had sent in last week, for which get in by Tuesday at 5 p.m. We better gauge where we want to be as a committee. As it's our last meeting before spring break, on behalf of the Academic Affairs Committee, we hope you all have a safe and relaxing break.
Come here.
All right, moving on to PR.
Good evening, everybody.
I was like,
I'm hiding in the corner. This week, PR has worked on several projects, the first being the Senate headshot. The first round was taken today, and the second round will be later this week or after break. I'll keep you posted on the final dates. Over the next week, I'll be working on editing those headshots, and as well as updating our website on rw.edu, like the Student Senate page. I've updated the page to include an updated roster, but I want to look at the full look of the page. Just a reminder, I sent out a survey last week. I'm still waiting on a few of them. It's only like 4 or 5, I believe. So far, the results have been very helpful, especially for the table times and the initiatives that I can help with. Basically, initiatives that I haven't told about. I've created several posts that will be shared out in the next week. One was actually shared out today. It was the AA scholarships. So that was shared out right before Senate started. So I'll go reshare that. And I'm hoping to do something with the SLIC nominations. As always, if anyone has any other ideas or information they would like me to share to our social medias, please feel free to reach out to me.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on to our standing council reports, and we'll start with parking.
Looking forward to a more comprehensive report after spring break.
Cool. Any questions for parking? Email parking.
Go Bricky.
Live life.
Yep. Yeah.
Why can I never open this?
Our previous meeting, we met with council decided that moving forward, we should split into 2 groups. One group for the that would work on the civil discourse statement, and one group that was the affinity classification charter, just for efficiency reasons. At the previous meeting, Stephanie also noted that after spring break, we should either have ex-lecturer or Professor Autumn Casada Grant, who is a member of the faculty senate, at our weekly meetings. That's all.
Any questions for Josh?
Go Josh.
Luis?
CEO Stephanie.
Any other questions for Josh? We got to sustainability.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. The Sustainability Council, as stated last week when I was not here, has had a very productive couple of meetings. The council has finalized and identified some goals, and we'll be drafting our first goal next week, which is the sustainability walk on campus. Very excited for that. More details to follow on this. We've also had some productive conversations with the sustainability classes. Last week, I spoke to 401, got an idea of what projects they had, and then heard some of their concerns that they had on campus and shared that with the sustainability committee. Our amazing Vice Chair Kelsey talked with the Sustainability 101 class today and had some productive conversations there as well. We're going to be bringing both these conversations to the University Sustainability Committee, which is meeting on Wednesday. So very excited for that. I'm going to continue to just address and talk about them within the council. We've continued to reach out to both public health professors and the sustainability professors to kind of get a whole perspective 360. And then we just continue to reach out to campus clubs and orgs to establish partnerships, hear concerns, and just chug along with other small council tasks. So yeah.
Any
Rosie.
questions? Oh,
Thanks.
any questions for Rosie? All right. Moving on to our ad hoc committee reports, and we'll go by law.
Hi again. Last week we finished Article 2. And once again, yeah, we have our first set of bylaw review committee bills on the floor tonight, but that's all.
Any questions for Ellen? Lovely. Moving on to Slick. Sorry.
This past week, we discussed the decoration for the theme of Slick. And we got some invitation ideas, started working on that. Luckily, Canva is a beautiful site to use. Right now, we are just about ahead of the game, so we're right now deciding what decorations we truly want right now, which ones we can sacrifice, what some ideas we could do for catering, stuff like that. We will not be meeting for the next 2 weeks this week because unfortunately Adrian will not be with us, and next week is spring break, but our next meeting will be on the 24th. Here's your weekly reminder that you have to fill out your nomination packets. They are a required assignment. They are due Sunday, March 20th at 11 p.m. and you must choose 5 awards to nominate people or clubs or organizations for. And with that being said, everyone have a happy and safe spring break and have a good rest of your week.
Alex?
Is the theme still under wraps?
Is Adrian, we want to talk about it?
Oh my God.
Yeah, on the wraps.
Appreciate it.
Fine. Any other questions, Alex? All right, moving on to our university committee reports. Anyone have any university committee? Adam?
The General Education Curriculum Planning Committee, JECPC, has met twice recently. Our last meeting, we had Chief Diversity Officer Stephanie Akumvabe and Associate Provost for Global and Community Learning, Alan Hance, come to discuss the importance of community engagement and DEI in the general education curriculum, but also the importance of not having that first touch point where the experiential pieces being in a first year course, instead scaffolding it up. We have target deadlines for the 6 learning outcome domains. So it's important that we're starting the process with learning outcome in mind for the courses and what would count, and then moving into actually the courses and so on. But looking forward to having the launch be for the class of 2027 in the fall of 2023.
Any questions, Rob? Lovely. Any other university committee reports?
The Faculty Senate met last Wednesday, where we welcomed Matthew Tilley as the Academic Affairs Chair. The Faculty Senate was very pleased to be working with him in the future. Provost Margaret Everett shared that the university is preparing to move back to pre-COVID class times for next semester. So courses will be starting at 8 a.m. and having 10-minute passing periods in between. There is some other updates about interdisciplinary programs. And then, as we probably know from our PR chair's post, there are 2 university events going on about the Ukraine situation. One happened today and one is happening Wednesday, and that's sponsored through the Office of the Provost and will be campus conversations moderated by the Dean of the Law School, Dr. Bowman. So we look forward to that. And then there was also discussion on building synergy between the Senate DEI Council and the Faculty Senate DEI Committee, as well as a general update on academic standards petitions and trying to unify that across all schools.
Awesome. Any questions for Adam again? Is
there a faculty sustainability committee?
Adam?
Unfortunately, that is not one of the committees that Faculty Senate has presently.
Thank you for that unfortunate information.
Adam?
Point of information, there is a university life committee that might remotely touch sustainability, but not directly.
Thank you for that information.
Good information here. Any other questions for Adam? All right. Any other university committee reports?
Second.
All in favor of opening all business? All is closed. You're not all business. Adam?
Introducing SS48-0. Topic 6, a bill ratifying the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook for Student Senate 48 for regular consideration.
Ratification. Would you like to elaborate?
Yes. So as we were mentioning at the seminar and the retreat, we are moving in a new direction when it comes to our bylaws and how they're laid out. The intent is to make sure that the bylaws are concise for senators and non-senators to be able to look at and easily able to change certain policies that we have not been able to because they've been in our bylaws and they might be different from year to year. So those were kind of the two goals that the bylaw review committee had when talking about the handbooks. And we came to the conclusion that the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook would be good to have because a lot of the information contained in there can change depending on the Senate that is in and different policies that are in place, but also that a lot of the information in there is more general information about Robert's Rules of Order and about how Senate operates, not necessarily bylaw specific information. We can see here in section 1, 2, and 3 that this is about the role of the parliamentarian being able to provide a more in-depth explanation than the bylaws would allow us. Section 4, 5, and sections 4 and 5 talk a lot about Senate policies, open debate, and so on. Section 6 details the demerit appeals process in providing senators a more detailed explanation of what that looks like. Section 7 is the types of motions that are listed in Robert's Rules of Order and that we use in Senate. And again, going into more detail than the bylaws would allow us. Section 8 talks about legislation and details what that looks like. And then the internal processes in place, the presidential signature. Section 9 talks about voting and the different types of votes that we have. Section 10 is simply bill writing clauses, with 11 being the constitutional amendment process and being able to provide an outline for all senators now and present and future about how that process would look, especially as we move into constitutional bills and ratifications. So that's kind of the context behind why it's important. Procedurally, this bill that we would be voting on would allow us to say that, yes, we do have a parliamentary procedure handbook. We're not necessarily voting on the language that's in there in the different sections, but that it does exist and that it does carry the weight of Senate behind it. Other important pieces to note, moving forward, this would be adopted at the first General Senate meeting of the fall semester. Once we have retreat and once e-board and cabinet forms, and we can really have those robust discussions. But obviously for right now, since we're in the middle of the semester, that's why the timeline looks different. And the process to change this. So each time, each Senate, this would be the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook for that Senate. So this would be for Senate 48, 49 might look a little different. If there's a need to amend it during the year, that can be done for this one specifically by e-board and then notifying Senate that these changes were made for these reasons, so that we ensure that transparency piece in similar ways that handbooks from other committees would have that amendment process be done and then reported to Senate. So overall, some really good progress that was made from the bylaw review committee, and looking forward to hearing any discussion.
All right. I'll now open a speakers list. If anyone wants to jump on the speakers list. Alex.
Question. I know that I don't remember what section, but it listed all the points, like the main points and stuff like that. In the Roberts rule, does it give every single like motion that can be made in there, or I know it has like, it mentions some but not all.
The points and motions listed are the ones that most often occur during Senate meetings. But of course, Robert's Rules of Order also applies to Senate meetings. And if you want to, our parliamentarian can provide a whole listing of the dozens and dozens of motions.
So, I have a question. So throughout, say, when it's ratified next semester for 49, will it be able to be edited during that year? Like you can just put edits in, or do you have to wait until the next Senate to do it?
So similarly to how it's laid out, it would allow each new Senate series, so 49, to totally rewrite it and have Senate ratify it. So that would be the main time for things to change. If there's amendments that need to be made throughout the year, that can be made at the discretion of E-Board and then notifying the Senate. So if there's a new type of bill that we're introducing, such as ratification bills for handbooks, then E-Board could put that in there and have the Senate aware that that was made and that this will now be included.
Any other people for the speakers list?
Motion to vote.
Motion to call this bill into question.
I'm going to veto that. I truly believe that the committee put a lot of work into this, and I think there should be more conversation on this, considering this is a very big piece of legislation that we are going to be passing. So I will entertain more comments or more questions before we even consider voting on this bill.
Could you also zoom it out a little bit? Just to kind of get more of the information. I know it was supposed to be read beforehand, but I would like to read it again.
Yeah, Ashley, you can go. Go ahead.
This is kind of alluding to a point that I was gonna bring up when we look at another bill tonight. But if we only include like the different like motions in the handbook and we don't include them in the bylaws, then are we not having them like be directions for what people can say? Like if we don't include, if they're only included in the handbook, then we're not like governed by them, so to say, so we're not required to follow them. So then wouldn't it be a better idea to have the motions be in the bylaws rather than in the handbook?
Adam?
So the point of the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook is that this carries the weight of what would be in our bylaws.
Okay.
So this, in some instances, is an extension of the bylaws, but in more detail and with more abilities to amend it. Looking at other student government associations, constitutions, and bylaws across the country, very few listed types of motions because it does turn redundant. But we want to make sure that senators have that information available to them at all times.
So this, like, if we were to not follow, like, what is listed in the handbook, it'll be the same as if like we weren't to like follow the rules like in the bylaws. Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, do we have a parliamentarian handbook?
That's what this, we don't have one currently.
Oh, yeah, okay, so, and does it get like, not like amended, but like, does it change every semester? Not every semester, does it change every Senate? Like, I know you said for like Senate 49, it might look different, but like, is it gonna be changed again in Senate 49?
So each Senate series, so once the E-Board and cabinet sworn in, however that period of time during retreat and over that summer, that's where we'll really have those conversations about what the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook should look like for that year's Senate.
Okay.
And then the first meeting of the fall semester is when we would vote to ratify it as presented. If there's amendments that need to be made throughout the year, if there's new things added, that could be done throughout the year by E-Board for the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook and then notifying Senate.
So can I just ask, like, what would we, like, I guess, give me some examples of like, what would be changed for next semester? Or for next Senate?
Some examples of what could change, there could be a new type of numbering process for bills. If that were to happen, there could be a new type of bill. There could be an additional element of how are we working with departments before bills are coming to the floor. Those might be some of the things that are in there, but again, that's highly speculative since next year's E-Board would be the ones kind of steering where that would be.
Okay, thank you.
Who would like make the amendments to the Parley Pro handbook? Would that be up to the parliamentarian, or would that be like before change, or would that be like a whole Senate kind of?
Go ahead, you can direct.
So that would be E-Board, since the parliamentarian is a member of E-Board, those conversations would kind of start with the parliamentarian, what they're seeing in Senate, what the current need is. And then that would flow up to E-Board, and then we would have a conversation there, bring in Senate when needed, if it's a bigger type change, and then make it and notify Senate.
Can I continue?
Go ahead.
What about when it comes to like, let's say, other handbooks that come out? How would that like sort of work?
So this bill specifically about the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook, so that's specific to this one. We'll hear later on throughout the weeks of what will happen with the SAF and clubs and orgs handbooks.
I just wanted to say that I really learned this handbook. And I'm not just saying that because, I really honestly do, because coming into Senate, and even it took me to become a parent to like really understand kind of how a lot of the internal work works. And I think that's because of one little bylaw we got handed out in the beginning. And then with this, it's like, as soon as you're kind of elected into Senate, you have the opportunity to kind of not only look at what your responsibilities are, but there's information about what each element of Senate really entails, and even the procedures, motions, things to follow. And this would have been really helpful for me coming into Senate, because I'm like, what does this mean? And like word of mouth is, like you're talking to someone like, oh, I get it. But like people who learn, you're reading and you're taking notes, like this is just, I really like this idea. And I think that people who work on it should go around with blogs. I understand.
Awesome, Ashley.
So if like a member of cabinet or if a general senator was looking at the parliamentary procedure handbook and they thought that something should be changed, would they be able to bring that forward to the parliamentarian or e-board and like entertain that?
Yes, so that would kind of be the process. Anyone could recommend change to the parliamentarian. Parliamentarian would use their experience and knowledge to kind of work through what that looks like. And then if it's reported favorably by the parliamentarian, it would go through this process.
Are we gonna get
Sorry.
Oh,
Do you want to continue?
no, it's a different point. Oh, no, you can go.
Go.
Okay, so then my next thing is like, if this was to be amended, and e-board would do the amendments and like, then notify the rest of Senate, it's not something that we would have to vote on to be amended. So then the parliamentarian would be allowed to work on it, even though they're not a Senate member, to work on amending it. Is that how it's going?
So because this is not part of the bylaws and it's not a piece of legislation, the parliamentarian does have the ability to work on a handbook because it's not a type of legislation that only senators have the ability to work on.
And may I suggest that be added to the parliamentarian handbook, that they can't work on like bills that, but yeah. Okay. You got what I was saying? Yeah.
We're gonna get a fancy copy of this, like the bylaws, or is it gonna be only online? I know that's not really a sustainable question to be asking because it's like more paper, but I'm just inquiring.
There's gonna be 5 handbooks as of now coming out.
Okay.
And I'm leaning, I don't have an answer for that right now.
Okay, that's okay.
Because because of the amount of handbooks that we're doing right now.
Okay, no, that's,
Yeah.
it would be not sustainable maybe.
Maybe we could discuss having one universal one for the office that people can look at. And then we
Oh,
can
that's a
find
good,
the rest
I
of
like
it
that.
online.
That's a good idea. I entertain that.
All right, cool. Alex.
Wait.
Is this going to be like a required reading for like new senator training or something like that?
So as we look to Senate 49 and what new senator training looks like, the handbooks would be included, just like going over the bylaws would. And how can we really make sure that senators have a good understanding of not only the bylaws and constitutions, but also more in depth with parliament procedure and how that looks on Senate.
Yeah. Any more questions or motions?
Motion to call this bill the question.
Second. You have a question?
I wanted to have a point.
I'm gonna do that so I can get his and then.
So I didn't really speak on anyone else's points, but I really wanted to say that, like, with this handbook, it's gonna be very helpful in the future, because after going over it, a lot of things been made concise and it's been made for the average senator to be able to read and understand. A lot of cutting has been done, a lot of simplification, and a lot of points and examples. So I believe that this is gonna be a very helpful document.
Motion to call this bill the question.
Second. All those in favor of calling this bill the question? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is not being called the question.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Can we do that, or just because it's a bill? Yeah, so I was gonna say we can't do it's a bill.
Well,
I know, we haven't had a ratification bill. Hold up.
Oh, very spicy. We're stepping into some new territory.
So, Adam Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Zach Domian,
Yes.
Zach LaFontaine.
Yes.
Mike Arell,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Ali Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Mackenzie Morganmore.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Matt Tilley,
Yes.
Jason Regan,
Yes.
Josh Ongara,
Yes.
Isabel Bollier,
Yes.
Louise DeRosa,
Such a commercial, yes.
Ashley Reyes,
Yes.
Louise DeRosa.
What's up? Yes.
Sorry. Right. Danny Hazelton? Yes. Fiona Dolan? Here, sorry, yes. Michaela Adams? Joseph Christopher?
Yes.
Alexander Roberts?
Yes.
Kara Schumler?
Yes.
Stephen Nelson?
Yes.
All right. So,
One down, 8 to go.
Any other pieces of legislation for old business? Zach?
Introducing SS48-071, a bill providing funding to purchase medical equipment.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yes. So as you know, we have the Student Senate Reserve account, which is used to purchase things to benefit the student body, is that okay? So yeah. So I'll let Izzy kind of fill you guys in on the situation. And then
I can see it.
yeah, I was just kind of wondering if everything was okay.
I know. I was like, huh? Pause.
put a pen in there.
How are your laptops almost dead? Your laptop's almost dead.
Sorry. It's not, it's, oh, there we go.
Now we're good.
Okay, it's good. All right, go-
Okay,
Zach, would you like to
so-
continue or like? it's-
So yeah, so it's a reserve account bill to kind of help the student experience and the student body as a whole. And I will yield to Izzy to kind of elaborate on the situation.
I could cry looking at this film. So first and foremost, what I've been doing, I think many know the last semester, I was gonna have this dramatic thing where like, hey, if you go out and look to your right, there's gonna be a no locks box, but it's not there yet. So I was very productive over vacation, was able to secure 4 no locks boxes. We're putting up 6 total across the university. And as stated, there's only 5 locations on campus that have an AED. So I did some coordination with the EMS coordinator and found that an entire cohort from the Gabriel School of Business and on does not have AEDs. So the School of Architecture, the engineering school, CAS, which has had a lot of concerns from students expressed, and the Gabriel School of Business, as well as the Visual Arts School. So what I did is I kind of counted it up, and then I talked with Zach to look at us having a proactive strategy rather than a reactive strategy. The last thing we want is someone to die on the campus before we decide that a building needs an AED. With that being said, if you're, say, in the 2nd floor of CAS, the closest AED to you is its health services on the 2nd floor, or the GHH on the bottom floor. So it's, again, not really sustainable. So what is going on here is I've asked the Student Senate to fund 4 AEDs and 3 overdose emergency kits. The AEDs will be installed in the Gabriel School of Business, CAS, School of Architecture, and the library. The overdose emergency kits will go in 3 of those buildings. The EMS office is following up with a 5th AED to install in one of the School of Engineering buildings. So there's an entire cohort that is pretty much almost set for an AED and an overdose emergency kit. So in turn, hopefully, there will be 9 buildings on campus that have an AED and 9 buildings that have an overdose emergency kit. And for those who do not know what an overdose emergency kit is, which is totally okay, it's essentially a kit that increases access to Narcan. So it's dedicated to holding Narcan, CPR barrier, gloves, and how to administer Narcan. The AEDs, I believe, do tell you how to perform in CPR and AEDs, if for some reason that you might not know. But with that being said, you might not have to know. Hold on. You might not have to not know because the Public Health Club is putting on a CPR Narcan event for free. So you should totally sign up if you're unaware maybe of how to perform CPR or work an AED. With that being said, thank you. And I am excited to see the conversation on this.
Brian?
So my question is about the OEK. Does it ever go like bad, like this is Narcan's in there? Does it ever like expire and you can be replaced on a regular basis? Or does it like last for a few years?
So
Well, you can direct it.
So Narcan has a life expectancy of about 2 years. The boxes don't, but the EMS office does weekly check-ins on all of the AEDs and all of the boxes. So when it needs to be replaced, there's already Narcan on campus in the AEDs with the locations that have an AED. So it's just increasing access for those buildings and equipping buildings that don't have any with some. So what will just be happen is they'll just make sure that the expiration dates are within a good amount of time. And if they're expired, then they'll replace them. They do get Narcan on a yearly basis to equip other parts of campus. So those areas will just be, rechecked on as they will with the AEDs.
I was gonna ask my other question, if we would have to fund it ourselves on a regular basis.
Nope, the EMS office has a budget. The reason why they can't buy, the specific reason as to why I am pushing for so many more AEDs is because the EMS office can only buy one per year. The current cost of an AEDs is going for about $1,400, which is plus padding and casing and a variety of other things that the EMS office has to maintain. It's just really not suitable for the budget to buy all of the buildings outright. So we really wanted to kind of fast pace that and at least equip more than 5 locations on campus with an AED. So every week, again, it'll just be kind of shifted into their check-in process. So they'll just go around to all the AEDs, check the AEDs, they buy the pads. They're really the only ones that can because they know what pads to get, they know how to install them. And they're really the only ones who can more than likely handle Narcan with that amount of shipment that they get. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen.
I was just wondering why you chose to place these in the academic buildings and not the dorms.
Yeah, so I think there's, so I don't know. I'm not too sure as to why they're not placed in the academic dorms, but I believe according to not state law, but basic regulations that they have to be placed in the most busiest areas. And I don't know if they can put an AED in the residence halls. I'm completely unsure about that. I can find out more information for you. I think he did tell me, but I unfortunately can't remember as to why there's not an AED in the resident halls. I think it might be in fear of potentially it getting damaged. Again, I could totally be wrong about that. But the reason why they're in the main academic buildings is because that's where students are occupied all day long. And unfortunately, there has been some buildings that have had incidences and there's been no AED. So I believe it's these major buildings that have to by state be required to have an AED. And there's an entire cohort on campus that does not have a single one. So even if you are in a residence hall, you're not going to be able to really get to one. So either way, the EMS office and the public safety office has those equipped. So they will come to you with the AED. If that made any sense. Okay. Mike.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for being so proactive with this.
Thank you.
But my question might be a bit too early, but
That's okay.
I'm just wondering, do you know if they have thought of any, or if they know of any exact locations within the buildings that they're going to be yet, or is that too early?
We've actually, so what we did when we went to go, thankfully enough, we have a very proactive and we have a very empathetic EMS office. They actually, because I was the one to bring in the 4 Nalox boxes I found over vacation for free, they actually set up a meeting so they could show me and strategically work with me to implement these. So unfortunately, a lot of the buildings have not been built to have a strategic AED placed. So if you look at Commons, it's built into the wall. If you look at GHH, it's where people, the AEDs are placed where there's an elevator and where people are the most occupied. And GHH is very, very busy. The atrium is very busy. So what we did is we kind of went around and kind of put it in those really central locations. So CAS, we anticipate it'll be in that main common area, right near on either side of the stairs in that center area. So it's kind of accessible to everyone. And I think one of the engineering buildings we had anticipated by an elevator or by the stairs. A lot of the buildings, it'll be by an elevator or some kind of area where everyone can see it. And it's not kind of hidden away. So out here in the library, the Nalox box and AED will be put out right by the elevator.
Fine.
So you said that these need to be placed in like major traffic areas for students and stuff. My question is there already one in the gym and rec center, or is there still not one in there? Because I know that would be a big place to have one possibly.
Yeah, so actually, I'll tell you all where the current AEDs are right now. GHH, MNS, Commons, Rec Center, and where's the fifth one? MNS, GHH, Rex, and I think the law school, right, Adrian?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't know these already have them.
No, that's okay. So yeah, though, to finish your question, sorry, I just stopped right dead there. Yeah, so there's already ones on this end of campus. So pretty much anything from the library over doesn't have one. And that's why we kind of identified it as a problem, because even if you are in a residence hall and need an AED, or if you're in, say, the architecture building, it takes essentially, if someone is going into cardiac arrest, you only really have probably a good 5 minutes before they're actually able to be saved. Because for every minute that you don't revive them, that's a 10% loss of their survival. So we really want to make sure that they're in accessible places where no matter what building you're in, you have within a maybe 2-minute run to get an AED.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Ashley.
Do we have a breakdown of how much each of them costs and how we like came together with the total amount that we're going to be allocating?
Zach, you want to direct?
Yeah, sure. So the AEDs are $1,195 a piece. So, and the naloxone boxes are $275. So we came to the conclusion that it's definitely like a dire need, like safety wise for students. And we wanted to definitely fund it, like as he said, so that it's not completely taking up EMS's budget to fund only one a year. So we decided on 4 of the 6 locations kind of on this side of campus, which is everything except the last 2 engineering buildings. And then the OEKs were 3 of the 5 buildings that needed them, excluding the law school, kind of because they're their own entity, kind of, and then health services, because we came to the conclusion that they have like limited hours, there's trained staff. Do you have a?
Proceed.
Yeah. So yeah, there was kind of just filling those gaps on campus, like we said.
Riley?
Do we know if there's access? I know you touched on it for the AEDs, but is there access to Narcan in each residence hall, like in the RA's suite or something? Because I feel like for the case of Narcan, it would be more beneficial to place that in the residence halls than the academic buildings.
So I actually discussed this with the EMS coordinator. He did give bags to someone who kind of owns the RA entity. Unfortunately, as to what I was told, someone please do correct me if I'm wrong, they were not given to the RAs because the RAs can only, if they're in an event of emergency, can place them on their side and cannot really touch them beyond that. So they were given Narcan at a point. What I'm trying to push for right now is to just have a basic first aid kits with the resident assistants. So if someone does need something very basic, you have access to that, because there were complaints from students not having a first aid kit in their residence hall. But that is the reason as to why we cannot, and I push for that really hard, but unfortunately there's some liability reasons almost as to why resident assistants can unfortunately not carry Narcan.
Alan?
Izzy, did you go on the safety walk with us to Bay Point?
I did, not to Bay Point, no, but please do add.
But I remember talking with the public safety officer when we were looking in Bay Point, and there's an AED behind the desk of Bay Point when you walk in. And I think because obviously, like, in regards to the residence hall, I feel like Bay Point is an exemption because of the meeting halls in there, et cetera, like things like that.
Bay Point is off campus, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I guess I was just following up on that, because I remember that conversation at Bay Point. It was behind the desk. You couldn't get behind the desk unless you had access to behind the desk. And even the public safety officer could not open the door to get to the AED. So I just didn't know if there was any follow-up on that.
Yeah, so I've been hearing everyone's concerns with that, and I have been pushing that with the EMS office, and they will be working to put all of that up. Unfortunately, a lot of this, putting these up, so the AEDs arrived earlier this week. Then they will pay and go on as usual. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer to really get the stuff up. I handed them the Nalox boxes at the beginning of the semester. We're now going into the second week of March, right? Yeah. We are in the second week of March. So prove my point more, we're halfway through March and the Nalox boxes have not been put up yet. So it's gonna take a little bit for them to kind of get around and to put up the 5 AEDs that they just ordered, the 9 Nalox boxes, and then also ensuring that they put up the one in Bayport. I'm gonna continue to push for it because again, the more I kind of pester them, the more they'll be like, okay, like get this girl off her back, like put them up and be done. So I'm kind of taking in everyone's concerns regarding AEDs. I facilitated a conversation in the Public Health Club and that was a concern raised as well. So I've been having a conversation with the EMS office about that. And he's been kind of putting that through his channels to make sure that that gets up in a correct spot. So I guess maybe back to another prior senator's question is that building does have an AED because they're off campus. I believe one of the other main reasons, but I will clarify and I'll send the information to everyone in the chat so everyone is aware that the reason why they're not in the residence halls is because the EMS and the public safety office have them. And we also have yeah, pretty much that's it.
Motion to limit debate to 10 more minutes.
I see no second, so I will continue on with Fiona.
I just have a question. So, the previous senator brought up a good point about how there's an AED in Bay Point and that it's probably because of the conference centers there they have. What about, is there one in New Res? You know, they have classrooms in there or like a computer lab? So I wasn't sure if there should be one there too.
I am unaware if there is one in the new res building. I can double check with the EMS coordinator. But like I said, to equip every single building on campus, it's gonna take a while. So EMS and the public safety have their own, and then all of the major academic buildings that are really busy are gonna have their own as well. So what I'm trying to aim for here is to increase access.
Point of information, with North Campus and already North Campus. I can tell you that I have at least not spotted any form of AED or OEK in North Campus. So if there is one, it's not in line.
Great. OEKs are very new, so there's probably not going to be one, but I will take that into information and I'll just I'll express that concern to the EMS coordinator. Now,
I know this is a little bit far off, but I was just wondering if you do have a plan to maybe get some in residence halls, as like we talked about Bay Point, there's an exception, but we also have Almeida, which is off campus, which is a high traffic residence hall and doesn't have, it also, although I'm not aware, but I don't know if it has meeting halls or it doesn't have a dining hall, but it is a very high traffic area that is off campus as well. So I was just wondering if there was anything to like maybe push on that. Because I know there was one in, I know there was one in Bay Point.
Point of parliamentary procedure, we are supposed to be debating the contents of this resolution, not future legislation, future initiatives, solely the contents of this funding. So let's just stick to that.
To answer your question, I can push for a conversation. Proceed.
Any other questions?
What are we legally supposed to have? I don't know if you've mentioned that, but I feel like based on the fact that we're having to fund this, that there is an obvious lack of supplies. I don't know, it seems strong to me that we don't legally have, or we don't have supplies, especially on a college campus, that might be life-saving. And so do you have any answer for that?
Unfortunately, I do not know the legal standard as to how many. I'm gonna go with, if anything, we have minimum or higher. Again, there's been a lot of students that have expressed the lack of specifically in AED and CAS. And that is for the reason that every single one of us, I'm sure, had at least one class in CAS because, yeah, girl, I don't know who she is. But everyone goes through there, no matter what major you are. I'm a public health major. There's music majors that go in there. There's political science majors that go in there, international relations, psychology, math, the full 9, the list goes on. So there's been a lot of students that have been concerned, and June Speakman had made that aware to me that the campus maps unfortunately reflect that there's an AED and there's not. So I unfortunately don't know the legal standard. I can find out what that is, but I'm gonna go with more than likely we have the minimum or a little bit higher. So that's why we're really just trying to push to help the university increase that access, because again, sometimes their budget unfortunately doesn't allow for them to buy multiple AEDs in one, because again, they're going up $1,400, right? When we were writing this bill, I'm like, sorry, Zach, the price just went up. I unfortunately, I can't control it. There's just price rockets. So they're just going up. So yeah.
Inflation.
Yeah.
Are there different protocols for AEDs and OEKs in terms of when there can be?
So honestly, that really depends on how the building is structured. So if a building is built with an AED and OEK in consideration, then that's where it'll be. But unfortunately, it looks like those buildings were not built with a consideration of an AED or a nalox box, which nalox boxes are fairly new within the last couple of years, by the way. It depends, I guess, on the building structure. So as I stated earlier, Commons has one built into the wall. So that's where that one is. A lot of them are just at central access points for everyone. But if anything, I can find out more information on that.
Motion to call this bill to question.
All those in favor of calling this bill to question? All those opposed? Abstentions? This bill is now being called to question.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Second.
Is there any dissent? This bill passes.
Woo! Thanks, everyone.
Any other pieces of legislation for old business? Is it?
Introducing SS48-006, a resolution encouraging the university to increase awareness for locations of AEDs and new overdose emergency kits.
Would you like to elaborate?
Oh, yes. Wow. Hi, everyone. Me again. So as we just passed, thank you all so much for passing that. I really appreciate it. When they go in, you're probably going to see me cry. But what I wanted to follow up with is putting this on the university's radar. I've talked with pretty much mostly everyone named in the resolution, but again, the resolution is pretty much just aiming to encourage the university to increase awareness through their respective channels. So whether, so graciously enough, I had a very simple conversation with Carol Sacchetti, and she's like, yeah, we'll include it in the first year orientations. So with that being said, yeah, pretty much we just want to increase student perspective regarding AED, locations of AEDs and overdose emergency kits. So examples I put in there was having professors put it in their course syllabus regarding their respective building. Campus-wide emails for them to kind of look at it. Marketing team to maybe do something on it. I know the Public Health Club will definitely be doing something on it, so hopefully we can have some support with that. And also reestablishing or fixing the campus maps. Like I stated before, I did some work with June Speakman. She found campus maps for me that have not been updated, or I don't really know, but the last map found reflected that there was an AED in buildings that don't have an AED, which is a problem. So we're just kind of looking to push. I think the EMS coordinator did talk and said that they might be in favor of that, and that they can definitely do that. So hopefully, we can put this on the radar as in AEDs and new overdose emergency kits get installed around campus. Thank you.
Jay.
Will,
Do we want to open discussion? Is that not necessary for something?
It's regular consideration, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, proceed.
We can go on the speakers list, so.
Okay, cool.
Unless you'd like to yield to anyone. Go ahead.
will this increased awareness? I know it goes through like the other channels, but will that take into account the bill that we just passed for new funding for those new stuff to come into, or is that kind of different?
Yeah, so what I'm doing with this is just putting it on their radar. And what I'll probably do following this is we will also probably like, hey, there's also, they really can't do anything until the stuff's put up. Like the overdose emergency kits aren't up yet, but it's just kind of in putting them on their radar so they can maybe start brainstorming on how they can look to increase awareness through their respective channels. Like the first year orientation, that's not going to take into effect until the summer. So by then the AEDs and the OEKs will be up, and that's where they can kind of highlight in their presentations where the locations are. Same thing with course syllabus. A lot of this stuff probably is going to be more of like a work and think about it now, so you can prepare for it next semester.
So ideally, in the end,
it would include the new stuff that we're also.
Yes. Gotcha. Sorry. Thank you.
Kind of like in these communications, do you plan on like pushing for more trainings, like in relation to like getting it on their radar, like with Narcan and with the AEDs, so that like students are able to like feel confident in their ability to use them when they're like exposed to them if the situation.
Following up with trainings for students?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like, because you listed people in here that you wanted to like follow up with, or you already spoke to, the
Mhm.
people you're sending the resolution to. Do you, like, are any of them like for, I know how you're doing the training for the public health. I'm like scatterbrained right now.
You're totally okay.
But I just mean like, are there plans to like for more trainings, like when you get it on these people, if that makes sense?
So training for the faculty?
For like students.
For everyone?
Whoever.
So that would again have to be probably channeled through the public health club, which or another club related on campus, doesn't have to be the public health club. I know once we kind of test the waters to see how this is, I will say we've already had almost over 40 people sign up for the training. And once we kind of get a testing on waters on that, we can definitely look to expand it, very similar to what public safety is doing. I did not consider, I guess, maybe also encouraging them to become trained in it, but a goal that I do have is increasing student access to trainings, because I will say the National Public Health Week theme this year is public health is where you are. So to me, that kind of means bringing the resources and tools to students who may not be able to easily access it. And CPR certifications can be costly in classes of that such. So we want to be able to provide those life skills, tools, and resources for free, and hopefully have support from the administration and continue to do so.
Any other questions or motions?
Oh, Ashley,
I'll beat up, sorry.
can you scroll back up real quick? First a question. You said that we already have the AEDs and OEKs here, the new ones, or they're gonna be buying them and coming in soon?
There's 6 that are going to be installed, and there's going to be more to follow.
So what do you believe is a reasonable timeline for them to be installed by? So that we could possibly like include like a deadline in here, like, oh, encouraging university to utilize these strategies to make awareness, like by this timeline, if that makes sense.
Unfortunately, I can't predict on what a timeline will be to implement these, which is why I kind of left it vague. And like I had stated to answering a prior senator's question is, I think probably by the summer, they will have the AEDs up and ready across the campus and the locks boxes. And again, a lot of the stuff is probably going to follow, like for say John King to do a student by email on where the locations are. And hey, over the summer, we've implemented new AEDs. The reason why I'm sending it out now, so it's again to put on their radar so they can have that stuff prepared for the summer.
Any other questions or motions?
Motion to amend the let it be resolved section, add it to the end, let's back up. Have it read, let it be resolved that student centers encouraging the university to use the aforementioned strategies to increase public awareness on locations of AEDs/overdose emergency kits before the start of the fall 2022 semester.
I like that. Thank you.
Got a second?
Second.
All in favor of making that amendment?
Yeah.
All those before the amendment started, please vote now, please. All right, all those opposed? Abstention. All right, that amendment has now been made. Any other questions?
I don't know how to the appropriate parliamentary nomenclature for a friendly amendment, but I have a friendly amendment. At the bottom where you're citing some of the names of the people that are part of it.
Yeah.
The word, I noticed this, I forget who exactly it was, but one of the word vice president, the P in president has like a small 1 next to it. Or where is it? You see it? Yeah. Associate Vice President of Marketing Communications. It's like next line down, right there.
Where?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Happy to help.
All right. Any other?
Before we move on, do my sponsors have anything to add?
Thank you, Alex.
Motion to call this resolution to question.
Second.
All in favor of calling this legislation to question? Also, abstentions, it's now being called to question.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Mr. Anderson. All right, this resolution passes.
Woo! Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Legislation for old business.
I'm done now.
Zach, sorry.
All right.
All her parliamentary bills.
Now the headache.
Introducing SS48. 65, a bill amending Article 3, Section 2 through 5 of the student senate bylaw. I would. So the changes that are going to be displayed on the screen in a moment depicts basically what we already voted on, which will be going to the parliamentary handbook. What's that? So we already voted and approved on the bill. So all the stuff that's in red would be being striked and moved into the handbook that we just voted.
Okay.
Can you scroll down as much as it like will? So we're just gutting this entire section.
Denseness is our best.
Okay. Maybe a referral to the new parliamentary handbook in the place of where this was might be helpful. Don't know. Idea.
Well, if you would like to do that, you can make a motion. No? No?
Sorry, somebody else speak. I don't have to speak in terms of somebody else has to speak.
You want my speaking term? Parliamentarian?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
So the intentionality behind the handbook is that the handbook's in addition to, so the handbooks would be referenced in another area of the bylaws, not necessarily Article 3, which this is touching.
And would this require changing the names of previous sections of unaltered bylaws that are now moved as a result of this being taken out?
That's in another bill following.
Awesome. You thought ahead.
Ashley?
Just for clarification, we're only striking sections 2, 4, and 5, not section 3, because section 3 is not listed on here as being striked.
I'm sorry.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Brian, unless you give a. Okay, I'll put Brian and I'll pick the last one.
So my question is, will we have another bill to add a new section or new section to the bylaws for the handbooks? Or will we just add it to an existing section?
Point of information that would be in the edit article. Alex, point of information, section 3, is that the agenda of this?
Any other questions or?
Motion to call this bill to question.
Second. Point of information for those confused, I do not believe that there was a section 3. Otherwise it was. So the bylaws went section 2, section 4, section 5. There was never a number 3. That has happened a few times here at the bylaws, just for clarification. I'm pretty sure that happened. I just wanted to, we didn't forget section 3. There was never a section 3. That's gonna happen another time too. It was just never numbered. Not a me problem. I also want to clarify that there was literally never a section 3.
All right,
Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor, so was there a second?
Second.
All in favor of calling this to question? All opposed? All right.
Motion.
Yes.
Zach Mannion?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike Rod?
Yes.
Brian Brown?
Yes.
Ellie Campbell? Yes. Matt Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Lisa Megan?
Yeah.
Josh Kira? Isabel Holder?
Yes.
Use your record.
Yes.
Ashley Harris.
Yes.
Yes.
Fiona Wilson? Joe Christie?
Yeah.
Alexander Allen? Yes. Kira Winston?
Yes.
Even Eldon.
Legislation.
Introducing SS48 064, a bill amending Article 3, Sections 1, 6, and 7 of the Student Senate bylaws.
Look at all these bills being.
Awesome. Would you like to elaborate?
I would. So this is basically going to be similar to the previous bill that we just added, except there are going to be a few changes. Section 1 is really going to be doing a few grammatical changes, newly revised and basically just making it better worded. We move to Section 2 or Section 6 is stated here, which is basically going to be going over sections that are going to be added into the Parliamentary Procedures Handbook. as well as leaving a few aspects there, just to describe what the parliamentary is in the bylaws. And then we have section 7 at the bottom, which is basically just converting open debate into open discussion. And to first start off, we make a friendly amendment. Could we change sections 6 and 7 to 2 and 3?
Anyone else for the speakers list?
Great job, bylaw.
Yeah.
Any other motion? I'll go Ashley, start.
Look, I'm looking at the bylaws from September 2021, and there is a section 3 of Article 3 entitled voting. And so since we didn't strike that from with the previous bill, we only struck sections 2, 4, and 5, then technically there's still a section 3, so that would need to be changed to section 2, and then part of the 6 and 7 would be changed to 3 and 4. It's on page 20 of our bylaws.
Are you on?
No.
Adam.
Point of information, the previous bill was striking sections 2 through 5, which therefore included section 3.
Maybe never. But was Article 3 included in the bill to strike it out?
No, it wasn't listed in red to be stricken out. Yeah.
Oh. You just had to stir
Sorry.
the pot.
Sorry. I processed it slowly. I wish I caught it before.
Section 37, open discussion. Motion to recess? Second.
All those in favor of recess?
Sure.
I need to
All
stretch.
opposed? We're on recess. Intentions?
Can I get a roll call, please?
Adam Kavanaugh.
Here.
Dr. Doman.
Here.
Alexander DiFabris. Mike Correll. Here. Brian Carroll. Here. Alex Schoenfeld. Matthew Tilly. Here. Jay Regan.
Here.
Joshua Langera. Isabel Boyer.
Here.
Luis DeGarden. Ashley Hardetz.
Here.
Bradley Gator.
Here.
Kenny Hilton.
Here.
Nina Dolan.
Here.
Kayla Abb. Joseph Stuley. Here. Alexander Robbins.
Here.
Troy Shino. Here. Mackenzie Morgan West.
Here.
Stephen Hilton.
You're getting quick.
Move on.
A point of information, thank you to the senator who brought it up. We have corrected the situation. So what we are going to do, we're going to continue debating on the bill that is amending sections 1, 6, and 7. We'll vote on that as it currently stands with the amendment made by our finance chair. And then we'll reconsider the bill that we just passed and make a friendly amendment to add section 3 in, and then we'll re-vote on that.
Sounds great.
All right.
That was complicated.
I'll go to the speakers list for this bill. All in favor of calling for the question? All opposed? Bill not being called the question.
Adam Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Zachary Doman,
Yes.
Zach LaFontaine,
Yes.
Mike Earl,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Ali Schoenfeld. Yes. Matt Kelly.
Yes.
Mackenzie Morgan. Yes. Jason Megan.
Yeah.
Josh Lawrence,
Sorry. Yeah.
Isabel Boyer. Isabel
Oh.
Boyer,
Hello, yes.
Luis Ugarte.
Yeah.
Ashley Reyes,
Yes.
Ellie Vedder. Yes. Danny Hazelton. Yes. Fiona Dolan. Yes. Michaela Abt. Joseph McCool.
Yeah.
Alexander Robbins.
Yes.
Pierre Ashingway.
Yes.
Stephen Elsner.
Yes.
Bill passes.
Oh, you need to bring up. All right, go ahead. Adam.
Motion to reconsider SS 48-065, a bill amending Article 3, Section 2 through 5 of the Student Senate bylaws.
Second.
All in favor of reconsidering what I'm saying? All opposed? Okay, we're going back to that bill. Adam, sorry.
A motion to amend, adding Section 3 voting in all clauses into this bill.
Second.
All in favor of making that change? That amendment not been made.
Point of inquiry, did we include, sorry, my blinking, did we include this in the parliamentary handbook?
Yes, so section 3 here, voting, is section 9 in the Parliamentary Procedure Handbook. So none of the information will be lost by striking it. It's just simply going to be moved to a new home.
Beautiful.
New home. Any other comments or questions?
Motion to call this bill to question.
Second.
All in favor of calling this bill to question? All those opposed? Second, this bill is not being called to question.
Adam Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Zach Goodman.
Yes.
Zach Wapton.
Yes.
Mike Earl.
Yes.
Ryan Carroll.
Yes.
Ali Strongfeld.
Yes.
Matt Tilly.
Yes.
Mackenzie Morgan.
Yes.
Jason Reagan.
Yes.
Josh Andera. Isabel Bowler.
Yes.
Lee Seager.
Yes.
Anthony Reyes.
Yes.
Riley Bidder. Yeah. Jenny Hazelton. Yes. Leanna Dolan.
Yes.
Michaela Ash. Joseph Priscilli.
Yeah.
Alexandra Robbins.
Yes.
Kiara Shumley.
Yes.
Stephen Nelson.
Yes.
This bill passes.
Alright. Any other pieces of legislation for old business? All those in favor of closing old business?
Yeah, was there one more? I'm sorry.
No. No.
Abstentions? The bills, the motion's still on the floor, so any abstentions?
So the resolution name's really long.
All right, so we're now not in old business. Moving on.
Motion to open new business.
Second.
All in favor of opening new business? All those opposed? Abstentions. We're now in new business. Any piece of legislation for new business? Adam.
Introducing SS48-067, a bill establishing the Elections Committee for the spring elections for immediate consideration.
All right, all those in favor of voting, considering this piece of legislation for immediate consideration? All those opposed? Abstentions. We're now considering this for immediate consideration. Would you like to elaborate?
I'll yield to the parliamentarians.
So. Yeah, elections are on March, declarations of intent are on March 28th. Elections are on April 6th and 7th, so we need to get the show on the road. That is why we're establishing it for immediate consideration, because we need to get started ASAP. We need to get started. Yeah, that's it.
Anyone have any questions?
The motion to call this bill to question.
Second.
I want to veto because Matt.
Can you just explain briefly for those of us who might not know, what the elections committee does?
Would someone like to be up to?
I will yield my speaking term to you, Ally.
Oh, you can do it? Sure, go ahead and do that.
So I'll direct, the elections committee, the two main purposes of the elections committee are to determine ways that Senate and ICC, since it's both Senate and ICC's elections, will promote the elections to the student body. They will determine what the elections will look like. For example, like, will there be an endorsement packet? Will there be like the campaigning roles, et cetera? And also if there are any major campaign violations, then the committee will decide to whether or not to disqualify a candidate. However, most of those decisions will be made by the chair.
Any other questions? please?
Motion to call this bill to question.
I was gonna say it.
All in favor of calling for the question? All opposed? Bill now being-
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Second. Karen Decent. All right, this bill passes.
Have an elections.
Any other pieces of legislation for new business? Adam.
Introducing SS48-068, a bill appointing members to the Elections Committee for the spring election for immediate consideration.
All in favor of considering this legislation for immediate consideration? All opposed? Abstentions? Being considered for immediate consideration. Would you like to elaborate?
I'll yield to the president.
All right. So for elections committee, there obviously has to be members of this election committee. So you will see in this piece of legislation that. Yeah, we're good. All right, we're good. All right. So where was I? Oh, yes, this elections committee, and there needs to be members of this elections committee. So the people that you see here are members of the student body that have been asked to serve on the elections committee, to work alongside our parliamentarian, to do exactly what Alex did beforehand, which is involved in the elections committee. These people are wonderful members of our Roger Williams campus. I don't even think I really need to explain them because they are, everyone knows who they are. You've seen them around. They're very heavily involved on campus. And I think they are going to be wonderful members and really be able to have fair elections for all the student body to vote on. All right. Would anyone like to go on the speakers list? I'll start with Izzy.
Absolutely nothing against Jay. Why is he a voting member when he's a council chair and Mackenzie's also a council chair, but she's a non-voting member?
I had that same question.
So per the bylaws, if you are running again for Senate, you cannot be a voting member because it is a conflict of interest. So since Jay is a senior, he will not be running again.
Okay.
So that is why I asked for another senator who is not running for Senate again, to sit on it as a voting member, and then Mackenzie in her position as public relations chair. Since, we'll be having to deal with promotional pieces, we'll be sitting on it as a non-voting member, so she's part of the conversations so she's knowledgeable of what she will be being asked to help with promotionally.
Should have added that, yeah.
Great, thank you for that information.
I think I saw.
Yeah, couple questions. First, how were Jenna, Ella, and Wilmer selected to be sitting on the elections committee?
I reached out to them personally, just trying to find students who I thought were, involved, and who I thought might make good members on the committee. Just how I did last semester, how past parliamentarians have done in the past. And yeah, I think that is how, I'm just gonna end there before I start rambling.
And are they voting members? And if they are not seniors, can you guarantee that they're not going to try and run for elections?
Two of Wilmer is a senior, the other two are not. If they do run in elections, they will be considered non-voting members, or I will take them off of the committee. That is helpful with having 3 of them. And according to our bylaws, I know it does state that there will be 2 that are selected if we decided to pick 3 so that we can do more promotion and have more ideas. But yeah.
And then one last question. Is there any significance as to why Sarah and Katie were picked from ICC?
They offered.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like their positions or whatever. Okay, thank you.
Adam?
Looking at the names of the members of this body, I think we've seen many of them around campus. We know that they are they are RAs. We know that they'll put in the interest behind it, maintain that confidentiality component that is needed, as they do have our parking council chair involved in this process. We know that confidentiality is maintained there. So I think confidentiality is well maintained, and I think these people are involved on campus and will serve in a great capacity.
Great. All right, anyone else for the speakers list? Or any motions?
Motion to call the bill a question?
Second.
All in favor of calling this bill a question? All opposed? Abstentions? Bill's now being called to question. Sorry, decent. This bill passes. Any other pieces of legislation for new business, Adam?
Introducing SS48-069, a bill appointing student representation to the Culture of Respect campus leadership team for immediate consideration.
All those in favor of voting for this all those in favor of considering this legislation for immediate consideration? It is such a mouthful. All opposed? Abstentions. All right, it's now being considered for immediate consideration. Would you like to elaborate?
I'll yield to the president.
Lovely. Speak on it. Okay, which one? No, not.
Six, nine.
Okay, yep. I'm just getting my bearings. All right, so as mentioned last week, the chair of the Culture of Respect campus leadership team, Dr. Jen Stanley, the Associate Dean of Students, has requested a member of Student Senate to sit on this committee. And Mackenzie, having sat on the Title IX and kind of was, roped into this committee a little bit, but still wanted to show her interest in being involved on this committee. She reached out, and I think she is going to offer the student insight and student input onto this committee that is greatly needed. I think she's going to do a great job. And also, as we're working to get more students involved on university committees, I think it's going to be excellent to bring insight of the student body, but also bring the insight of administrators back to us to really be a fantastic liaison. Anyone have any comments or questions?
Go Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
And don't hate me. So since I was already technically part of this leadership team prior to my expressing interest to being both Senate and this, do you know, because I know that you mentioned Jen Stanley had talked about the separation or like the only one student kind of thing. Do you know if I separated my role, if someone else was able to have a Senate liaison position? Like if I was just a member of that leadership team, so someone else could have this Senate position? I know it's late.
Are you trying to say like, is there an opportunity for another student to sit?
Yeah,
on it?
just to get diversity of people on it, because if I was already going to be on it, I would prefer if someone else was also able to give their input on this leadership team.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she wanted to have one person on this one. She said it was fine to have two people on Title IX, but she really wanted to keep this as to one student representative. Okay. Yep. So yeah, but this is just affirming your, appointment to this committee. So everyone can be aware that you are part of this committee, and yeah,
Just make sure.
yeah, no problem. Anyone have anything else to add? Right?
For clarification, were you already on the committee or was you just asked to be?
So I was already part of both the Title IX, and I haven't attended any of these meetings yet because it is newly formed. But I was invited a few weeks ago to join it. And then when Jordan had mentioned that Senate was looking for someone to represent Senate on these committees, I said, I'm already going to those meetings. Let me know if you want me to help. So I expressed interest in that.
Okay.
So, yeah. But we have not met yet.
Any other questions? Or motions?
Second.
All in favor of comments or questions? Oh, no. This bill's now being called a question.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Second.
Is there any dissent? Lovely, so happens. Any other pieces of legislation for new business, Adam?
Introducing SS48-070, a bill appointing student representatives to the Title IX Student Task Force for immediate consideration.
All those in favor of considering this piece of legislation for immediate consideration? All those opposed? Abstention. All right, this legislation is now being considered for immediate consideration. Would you like to elaborate?
I'll yield to the president.
Awesome. So similarly to the last piece of legislation, Dr. Jen Stanley, who's students, was looking for two students to sit on the Title IX task force. And similarly to as we just heard with Mackenzie, I won't repeat it, but she was asked to be part of this. So she graciously asked to be part of this committee formally. And then Izzy reached out as well. And everyone knows that she is extremely passionate about everything and anything that she does.
Thank you.
So I don't know if that's late. Sorry.
No, thank you.
So I really think that she would be a great addition to this committee as well, working alongside of Mackenzie to really be that liaison between the students and the faculty on campus. And we heard Zach was a former member or was a former member of one of these, well, this committee talked about it last week. And based on that information, I really thought that these two senators would be great additions to these to this committee. All right. Anyone have any questions? Or go ahead.
So, this could be to, I guess, either of you. What experiences do you think make you ready for this position on the Title IX task force?
Would you like to direct?
Sure.
Okay.
So I have had experience with, I have not engaged whatsoever with Title IX. And I'm going to be honest about that and the reason why I reached out is because I want to actually gain more experience and because I'm a passionate person regarding Title IX tendencies. And, the overall arching reason, just overall the arching reason as to why Title IX exists, helping enforce it and ensuring that, student conduct follows and that these issues are properly addressed with empathy. and, that there's a better culture fostered on campus. So I've been on task force, I've led coalition meetings, I've had that experience, but I've never had any experience with Title IX. So I'm going to be front with that now. But I am very, very open to listening to what you all want me to bring to the conversation, what I can bring back and what I will learn. So yeah, it's a new opportunity that I'm willing to engage in. I've had leadership experience before as presented, but not in Title IX.
Before you speak on it, if you would like to, I would like to rephrase the question as to not what experience you have with Title IX, but
Yeah.
what, why are you interested in sitting on this committee?
I'm actually already serving on this task force, and like Izzy, I didn't have any experience with Title IX prior to me joining. But as I am continuing to go to the meetings and learn more about how our school is impacted by that, how our community is impacted by that, and how all of our students have to deal with issues related to Title IX, it's becoming more important to me to learn about these things and to help people affected by these matters, because in many ways, most of us have had some sort of incident with Title IX, or someone who has, and a bit of support system. So it's important to me to help build our community and make us have a better Title IX system, especially since it is an understaffed department at the school. So anything I can do as a student to help, I am very willing to do.
Can I guess, direct off of that?
Unfortunately, no, because it's a direct, but you have a
Point of information.
Sure.
I second that point. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you. Sorry, I misinterpreted your question.
Anyone else have any questions or comments or motions?
Motion to call this bill to question.
Second, all in favor of calling this bill to question? All those opposed? Abstentions? Bill not being called to question.
Motion to adopt by unanimous consent.
Is very decent. All right, this will pass. Any other piece of legislation for new business? Brian.
Introducing SS48-XXS, a bill ratifying the Overdose Handbook for regular consideration.
Any other piece of legislation for new business?
Mike. Hi.
Hi.
Introducing SS48XXX, a bill ratifying the student activities fee handbook for regular consideration.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Introducing SS48XXX, a bill amending Article 7, Section 5, 6, and 8 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Lovely. Go ahead.
Introducing SS 48XXX, a bill amending Article 7, Section 18 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Been looking forward to hearing all. Yeah.
Introducing SS48-XXS, a bill amending Article 7, Section 9 through 16, 19, 21, and 22 for regular consideration.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Zach. Introducing SS48-XXX, a bill amending Article 7, Sections 1 through 4 for regular consideration.
I'm looking forward to hearing.
Introducing SS48-XXX, a bill amending Article 7, Section 7 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Go ahead.
Introducing SS48-XXX, a bill amending Article 7, Section 20 of the Student Senate bylaws for regular consideration.
Go ahead.
Introducing SS48-XXX, a bill appointing a student representative to the Community Engagement and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion subgroup of the General Education Curriculum Planning Committee for regular consideration.
We're gonna have a fun meeting next week.
Enjoy spring break.
We won't be here next week.
Motion.
Wow. Point of information?
No, personal privilege. How many is that altogether? 1, 2, 3,
9.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
10.
9.
The 9 or 10?
9.
All right. Any other piece of legislation for new business?
Second.
All those in favor of closing? All is closed. New business not closed. Announcements. I'm gonna go first. Make sure, as student leaders, it is great to have your faces at events on campus. And through my conversations with other org leaders, they would really love to have other org support at these events. So I highly encourage you all going to any sort of events if you have the time to do so. Jay.
Speaking of going to events,
Oh my God.
if any of you have ever felt the need to throw a pie in my face, your opportunity has come. Your opportunity has come. It has come. Pie me in the face, give me $3. It's all you. Tomorrow, outside of Commons and the Roger statue from 2 to 4, cash only. It's gonna be a great time.
Cash only.
Cash and then,
Brian.
And what Jay didn't inform you of, this will be helping us go to our DC trip.
That is correct. There's a reason I didn't include it.
So if I pay $30.
You may pie me in the face that 10 times, 10 times.
Awesome.
Will glasses be on or off?
That's up to you.
All right, any other announcements? Adam.
ready for another pie video.
As a reminder, we do have General Senator caucus afterwards, so we'll take a 5-minute break for general senators and we'll be back.
Can I make like a personal, point of personal privilege or, I don't know. Okay, so one thing I've noticed is that there has been a lot of voting on unanimous consent at the Senate meetings. And I know that that has not been the standard in previous student senates. And considering in some cases, there has been information I've not been able to disclose, I would actually prefer if we can try and limit that a bit and then try and do a bit more motions by regular hands, motion by roll calls. Sorry.
Izzy.
So as everyone knows, last semester there was a amendment added to the bylaws that student senators participate in at least 2 trainings by the end of the year. An opportunity has come. Public Health Club is putting on a free CPR training. I don't know if spammed you off the chat, but figured I'd also do a CYA and tell you all in person. 75 participants, 40 people have signed up. Secure your spot. April 5th, it's completely closed off. It's already filled. So I encourage you, if anything, to please do so and sign up and tell your friends.
This is gonna be like out there.
Okay.
So I have to get FEMA certified.
What is that?
I have no clue to be honest.
FEMA?
FEMA's the
FEMA.
emergency rescue team.
Yeah.
For natural disasters.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the dog.
No.
That's
Talking about.
Adam.
That's something that the executive board will be having more conversations on soon.
Okay.
Alex, this is just another reminder because this is the last week I can tell you guys because next week is spring break and that Sunday before our next general meeting is the last day, but remember to send in your nomination packets. I'll probably send a message in the group meeting next week, but this is the last time I can remind you in person in this group setting to fill out your nomination packets. Again, only 5 awards you really have to do and have to be done by Sunday, March 20th by 11 p.m.
Awesome. Any other announcements before?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All's in favor of adjourning? All opposed? We are now adjourned.
Expect to see every single one.
All right, so we will regroup for general senators.